Good morning, everybody. It is July 16th, 8:10 a.m. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday was a very interesting day. Now, I only saw the market for a little bit. I had to take my daughter to the doctor's. She's okay. No broken bones. Um, she hurt her leg a couple weeks ago. We didn't think she did, but we just confirmed yesterday, so that's a good thing. Got back a little later. I did wind up getting off like a long and meta. That turned out to be a nice trade. Um, and I did post one thing in the markets. But yesterday, what was crazy was how strong the Nasdaq was, right, relative to the SPY or the S&P 500. That was your semis pushing, right, and that's what made the market so weird, right? Made the markets really weird, and it's going to cause the markets to be strong under the hood with those strong largest market cap weight XLK pushing the market up, right? And then eventually the overall market was helped to bring down the Nasdaq a little bit towards the end of the day. And then right after Trump was speaking and the market ripped lower. It really ripped lower. And now we've since recovering right now a little bit at a key level, right? And the markets are still not structurally in sync because of the Nasdaq really didn't drop that far. Okay, and CPI did come out hotter, but as expected. But as expected. Now, will a Fed cut rates when CPI goes up? Probably not. Okay, probably not. So maybe after it was initially a no burger, a nothing burger, when the data came out, that the rest of the market didn't like it, right? Because now that means rates are not going to be cut. It keeps pushing them away. So I don't know, right? That's what's happening right now in the markets. Okay, today we have PPI. We have PPI, and we had some earnings come out this morning. ASML, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Progressive, Johnson and Johnson, Morgan Stanley, PNC Bank. Okay, that's what came out this morning. Nothing really big after the close today, except United Airlines. Tomorrow's the big one, Netflix. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into this. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year. I will refer that to a VPOC, right? I'll call it the VPOC year, the VPOC month, the VPOC week, and the previous day's VPOC. Okay, it's very important that I track those levels. They are magnets, they are walls. And then I will make game plans around those specific levels. I also use anchored VWAPs to help me out. And I use, once the market's opened, the market internals. Okay, that will tell me under the hood what the market's capable of doing or why it's in flux, all that jazz, right? So, with that being said, hopefully you join me every day, every morning. Have a cup of coffee, water, tea, whatever your choice of beverage is. Put me on in your car, whatever. Just get the lowdown of the markets, okay? I'm going to give you a market story, why the markets are doing what they're doing, the economic calendar, the market news, right? A bunch of TA, bunch of technical analysis. And then I give you that long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures later on down the road. If you're new, if you don't know markets, watch the first 15-20 minutes. You will get the feel of what's going on. Okay, then it gets kind of like more into the TA, and that's fine. right? But if you enjoy TA, you stick around, all right? Now, once that market opens, okay, I have a Discord. It's called Confluence Trading. Please join up, join the community. I give live commentary, and like I said, use me as an indicator. You don't have to trade like me. Use me as your indicator. I will let you know what the market's capable of. Okay? And you might hear something that I'm saying that you go, hey, I'm going to get long off what he's saying in your personality, right? Your risk tolerance. All right? So hopefully you come join. All right? Today I'm back. Yesterday I wasn't really involved in the Discord. Okay? I did post an update, but today I'll be there. All right? So join up. Now, let's go to futures. Let's see what's driving markets today. I think it's kind of muted, but we'll look at it. Okay. So we have Ethereum leading the pack, up 3.82. Bitcoin's up 2.183 from people taking profits. Silver is back up 0.34. Russell's up 0.33. The Dow's up 0.24. The 30-year bonds are being bought up 0.22. Gold's up 0.19. ES flat. Dollar flat. Nasdaq down 0.11. 10-year yield's down. 10-year yield had a monster rise yesterday, but today they're down a little bit, 10.36. Crude is down 1.26. Okay, that's 84 cents a barrel. The VIX is down 1.61. We're at a 17 VIX. All right, let's move on to the Max 7 Plus here. And let's look at Coinbase, up 0.86. Tesla's up 0.81. Now, Tesla lost their North American sales manager, stepped down, I believe. I believe that's who stepped down. All right. Let's see here. There's not much notables here. Who's laggards? Microsoft down 0.15, AMD down 0.21, Broadcom down 0.43, and Amazon is a laggard, down 0.45. Okay, down 0.45. Now moving on. Let's see if the top sector stocks. We'll go over them really quickly. Your Johnson & Johnson had decent earnings. They're up 1.83. Goldman Sachs. Did they report this morning? I believe. Yes, they did. So they must have had decent earnings. They're up 1%, right? Laggard is Qualcomm on this list. We'll go a little granular. Let's just see who the top. This is real granular here. Unity Software is leading, up 7.44%. Mara Mining up 2.39. We'll just go over to Bitcoin ETF up 2.15. So Bitcoin stuff getting a lot of love. ARM Semi up 1.6. Let's see who the laggards are. ASML reported earnings and it wasn't good. So that's down 7.86%. Lam Research down 3%. AMAT, another Applied Materials Semi. So semis getting hurt. Okay. That's your semis. That's your more granular list of the markets. We'll go back to the regular list here and we'll go to sectors. Sectors, who's leading? Financials. Right, that's your Goldman Sachs. Okay. So, what else here? Financials leading the pack. Really nothing else to speak of here. Your only big losers that I just showed you is a bunch of semis down. Okay. So that's usually risk off. But we're at a key support. We're still in balance. And I just have a feeling this market's going to rip up today. We have to see. I don't predict, right? The way this market's going, I can just see a rip roaring rally today. But I don't know, right? Let's see what PPI has to say about that. But we had the CPI hot. All right, so let's see. Now, PPI, it's interesting because remember, with tariffs, the producers pay those tariffs. Okay? Just so everybody understands tariffs. When Donald Trump says we're going to really hurt China, we're going to really put tariffs on Brazil, on Japan, we pay the tariffs. America, that's a tax on America's importing. It doesn't cost the other nations anything. It only hurts the other nations by possibly us finding an alternative. but we pay that. Okay, we pay the tax, the producers. So the PPI will be really interesting to see if what's expected, what's going to go. We'll look at that in a little bit. All right, moving on. We're going to look at the market economic calendar for today, and we'll look at that right now. Okay. So your PPI, let's look at it. 30-year mortgage came out at 7 a.m. It went up previously 6.7 and went to 6.82. All right, so let's look at PPI. So year over year PPI. Interesting. Oh, So CPI was expected to go up. It looks like the headline number here, they're saying it should go down 0.3. Consensus 2.7, previous 3. I'm sorry, that's the core. This is core PPI year over year. Expected 2.7, got 3. Headline PPI is expected to go up. So 2.5. I'm sorry. Expected to go down. So that's interesting. Right? PPI year over year expected to go down 0.1. Core expected to go down 0.3 or 0.03, whatever you get what I'm saying. Okay. What else do we have today? We have Fed bar, crude inventories. That's really it. Okay. So after PPI, which is going to be interesting to see, that it's expected to go down. Right? Interesting. All right, moving on. Let's get into some stock news here. Goldman Sachs stock rose 1.1 after the investment bank's profit jumped in the second quarter. Morgan Stanley stock fell 0.5 despite the banking giant's profit climbing. Johnson & Johnson stock rose 2.5 after the pharmaceutical giant lifted its full-year sales forecast. Bank of America stock gained 1.3 after the lender's profit rose in the second quarter. What else here? ASML ADRs fell 7% after the Dutch semiconductor equipment supplier warned that it may not achieve growth in 2026. Omnicom stock rose 0.3. The media company's second quarter results surpassed estimates. AstraZeneca ADRs fell 0.9 after the drug maker's experimental therapy and Selamil, I don't know how to say that, to meet the main goal. All right, let's see here. Moving on. Let's see if there's any. We'll see that in a second. Let's go to this news. NVIDIA to boost H20 chip sales to China. Okay, Johnson & Johnson, we already mentioned this. Let's see here. I'm only going to mention big stuff here if I don't see it. Let's see, Ford. Automakers are calling 694, 271,000 crossover SUVs in the United States due to a fuel leak issue. Okay. Stellantis, the car maker, said it would discontinue its hydrogen fuel cell technology program and no longer launch a range of hydrogen-powered vehicles this year. Okay, let's see. BlackRock, TD Cowen cuts target price 1252 from 1261. JP Morgan, Piper Sandler raises target price to 320 from 295. Okay. That's that. Now, what did Juice have for us? What's the Juice have for us today? All right. Morgan's, let's see here. Nothing really. What do we have here? Jensen Huang spoke at midnight. Let's see. Trump comes and greets Bahrain leadership at 11. Trump meeting with Bahrain leadership, 11:15. Trump bill signing ceremony at 3 o'clock. Okay, that's what's going on with Trump. All right. Let's see if there's any upgrades, downgrades that we can look at here. If I don't see anything here, oh, here we go. They update it. ARM, a semi, it's upgraded even though it's down, right? That's really it there. Let's see if there's downgrades. And here we go with this garbage. All right, downgrades. Let's see if anybody on here to note. Team Atlassian got a downgrade. Okay. Now, to look at interesting breadth, I'm going to just put breadth up here. Check that out. Remember when I said the market got frothy up in here? When 85% of the market was over the 20-day super moving average. Check that out. Boom, we dropped yesterday to basically 50%, 47%. Now that's half the market of the S&P 500, or only, so that is like a big move down. Okay, that is a big move down. Okay, so if we look at the Fed Watch tool real quick, that was a day ago. We're just looking for a pause in the next Fed meeting. Okay, earnings, real quick. Earnings, like I said, after the close today, United Healthcare, Alcoa, Kinder Morgan, and then tomorrow, Taiwan Semis before the open, PepsiCo, Abbott Labs, Travelers, okay, Novartis. Now, like I said, I'll go a little granular here. Right to here's a cool little feature in TOS. We're going to look at if there's any upgrades that we didn't see. So upgrades, let's see who's moving markets here. ARM, we just mentioned that one. All right, Palantir, it's not really up that much. I'm only going to mention stuff that's up. Let's see downgrades here. Downgrades, who's really losing here? For nothing really to talk about. There's that team. It's flat though. Let's see price targets. Let's see who's mentioned here. If anything's big here, nothing's up that big to talk about. Nothing's down, so that's not really corporate earnings. Let's see, anybody we already talked about. There's ASML, the big loser. All right, that's it. That's it. All right. Now, why don't we just talk about the market internals from yesterday? We'll give a little recap. And it was very disconnected. All right, so look at all that blood red, right? It's pretty bloody. All right, so notice Infotech was relatively strong. That's why this white line is so divergent from the bars. Bars represent the market cap weights, okay? That's why this market in the Qs were strong because of tech. But look at everything else. Oof, financials, discretionary, your Tesla, your Amazon, financials at your, Berkshire Hathaway, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, communications, Meta, Google. Healthcare got destroyed. That's your Eli Lilly, took a bath yesterday. So did United Healthcare. Industrials, that's your Uber, your GE. GE had a decent day, so this could be your CAT, your Boeing, all right? Energy took a little bit of a bloodbath here. Right, SPX in the background here, you can just see boom, boom, right? Closed right there. Okay. So, pretty easy to see here. All right. Now, look at that. I want to show you that. This is where the ADD, that's your advancers minus decliners, 407 out of 500 declining. It's pretty bearish. Okay. It's pretty bearish. And your NASDAQ exchange, 1974, it declining. It's pretty big number. Anything close to 2,000, that's a pretty big number. Okay. 2.851 of selling going into down stocks. It's almost 3 to 1. So that's pretty bearish. That's why you see that 50% basically if stocks are above their 20 days of moving average now. That's a pretty significant drop yesterday. That's pretty significant. Okay, and that's your market journals recap. Now, we got about data coming out in a minute. So, real quick, let's look at our chart. Let's look at our dailies. Let's see where we're at. Alrighty. So yesterday, look at that, opened up above last week's range, dropped 90 MA daily to these supports from the two previous daily closes. I mean, not closes, lows. So no, but we dropped lower. Okay, where are we at now? 622.41. We're right at by yesterday's lows. Right by yesterday's lows. Let's go to futures. Let's see what the PPI does here. Boom, PPI. Right now, it's catching a bid. You can see that candle moving up. You can see what we did in the overnight. We dropped below last month's highs, right? Call it the 9 EMA daily. And I think, like I said, balance rules say we go back to the other side of balance today. We'll have to see. Doesn't mean it has to happen today. But what do you think happened to all these shorts that went here, couldn't catch farther move? Yep, balance rules. Okay, balance rules. So let's look at that data. Let's see what actually came out with the PPIs. Okay, this should be interesting to look at. So we'll start with the headline. Wow. Okay, so this is this is the opposite of the CPI. So we thought 2.5 go down 0.1. It went down point. Ooh, you heard that? Large sell order just came in. 2.3. Wow, went down. It went down 0.3 from the last time. Interesting. Headline went down. The core. Sorry about those alerts, but that's 115 lots I just saw. Let's see. Core consensus 2.7. We came in at 2.6. Okay, interesting. Producers in like the producer inflation went down 0.4, more than expected. So very, very interesting. The opposite of yesterday. Okay, the opposite of yesterday. Producers are paying less. Very interesting. Remember, they pay the tariffs. So that's probably people taking profits right now in futures. Okay, that's what we got going on. Now that's going to lead us right into, well, let's go back to futures. All right, I'm not done with you on daily charts here. So, like I said, we're in this huge range. Now look at futures, because that's what I love about futures. You get the overnight sessions. This isn't broken down like my market profile, but look at this range. That's balance. That means nothing's happening. It might look like there's something happening, but it's not. Okay? That's your ES. Move on to the Qs. All right, let's go to Qs now. Remember, they were relatively stronger. Look at that rejection there. Woof. You opened up here, gap up, above all these candles, above last week's range, closed really by the previous day's highs. Okay? Really by the previous day's highs. Now, where are we now? 557.12. 557.12 brings us right here. We're at the lows of yesterday's range. Right? The lows of yesterday's range. Let's look at futures. So check this out, right? We're still in a big balance area. Okay, let's look at that balance area. We'd violated it, right? But this is our balance, right? Price is here. This is last month's highs. This is the 9 EMA daily we just came down to. Bounced off of it. That's a nasty wick, right? Now, if we were to do this, fail here, start to come back into range, generally you go back to the other side. Okay? So, very interesting here. Very interesting here. We have to see what happens. Just balancing. Okay? Just balancing. Remember that. Even though it looked, oh my God, pretty bad, aftermarket and stuff like that. That's what we're doing. All right, moving on to bond market, triple-headed monster. Let's look at that bond market. Let's look at that squirrely bond market. That's just really not easy to look at. All right, so it's doing nothing. You're right at the 2025 anchored VWAP. Okay, you're doing nothing. Nothing to see here. Moving on to the dollar. Now, the dollar, like I said, It was in that channel, right? Broke out of the channel. Look at that. Broke out of the channel. Is this going to catch a bid? Now, if this does catch a bid, that's not the best, honestly, for the markets. Okay? Strong dollar generally is bad for commodities, and it's not great for equities. Okay, so we have to see how this weighs on the markets, okay? Now let's look at the VIX. The VIX is your 30 days out. 30 days out of fear, you want to call it your fear gauge. And we came all the way up almost to a 17.69 VIX. We're at a 16.8 VIX. Like I said, this move is a balance rules move. So we should catch a bid now, which we are, right? Which we are. So it should make the market interesting today. Okay, make the market interesting. We're really catching a bid right now. And we're going to get into that in a second because we're going to look at the hourly charts. All right, give me a second. Boop. Let's look at these levels here. It's very clear to see here. I mean, this is nothing rocket science to look at, but we're going to look at it together and look at the hourly charts together, and we'll analyze and show you the keynotes that I have on these charts. Okay, starting with, look at that candle. This is all balance rules. That's what this is. Okay, why? Last 2 weeks highs up here, right? The orange lines, right? This is your 6270. That's the monster level. Remember, I made that a composite high volume node. See that right there? This is holding the lows of the market. This is holding the lows of the market. This is also last month's highs. Okay, see how we went into this demand zone? You tried to find acceptance here. You closed at the big level, and now look, we're pushing. Okay, we're pushing. So what's important here? I put an anchored VWAP at this low. I want to see where the average buyer sits. We're right here. Okay. Next thing I did is I threw an anchored VWAP at the selling candle here. Notice that's the blue anchored VWAP. It's right there, sitting at a supply level, a resistance level. Okay. The other level, remember, 6305 was the ultimate balance level. Remember what I said? Big moves happen from ultimate balance, right? So once you went up here and ripped through that and find acceptance, wham, big move. That is why. It's no mystery. Remember what I said. Look at this candle. Jesus. You're going to go up and test this supply right here. Okay? Now, what makes it tricky is because this is balance rules, right? So once you come down, right, you retest this level, you go back up to the highs. You retest this level, you go down to the lows. You go up, take this, reclaim this level, go up, come down, can't come back above that level, you fall back, and now we're going where? Back up. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong, you could fail and roll over, but more likely than not, see this congestion right here? You need to do one of these. Come up, really probably struggle, boom, hold it, go back up. That would be balance, okay? And then, because I mention this almost every day because we're in balance, but just so everybody understands it, well, how balance works psychologically, right? If I'm short here, I'm short, boom, what am I going to do down here? Oh, it's not going farther. Let me take profits. I become a buyer, and new buyers come in with me, and then you go back up. Guess what? Shorts have to cover. Boom, boom, boom. Well, if I'm long, oh, there's a lot of wicks here. All right, I'm going to take my profit. Take my profit. New shorts come in. Oh, we're at a wall. Oh, we're finding acceptance. Oh, now all the shorts dump. And boom, the shorts take profits. New buyers step in. See what I mean? That's how it works. That's why there's balance. Okay? Because This doesn't make it easy, but it's pretty much like if you buy these lows, you're making money. If you sell these highs, you're making money. Anything in between is more or less noise. Right? Move on. Let's go to that NASDAQ here. Now, just the structure alone, notice NASDAQ is different. Structure alone, the NASDAQ is different. You don't have that beautiful balance like you did because you broke out of it. Okay? So, here's your NASDAQ. Now, we still have our monster levels.
Large sell.
Okay? That's an ES futures 179 lot sell. Okay? Now, let's do the NASDAQ. All right, notice what we did. This was your balance area right here, 22830. Your 230 is your bull bear line. That's your line in the sand for the NASDAQ, 230. Now remember, these levels are important because you want to judge it by acceptance. Acceptance that is not acceptance, right? So we broke out and then we failed. And then look what happened. Support, support. Oh, ripped down to where this is actually the month to date anchored VWAP right there and last month's highs. I put an anchored VWAP right here, right? So 230 becomes a very important level. If we get a pullback and we hold here, I want to go long. Okay? I want to go long. Now I put an anchored VWAP at this candle, representing the sellers right here. Okay? You go under this, except we're going to test this level again. Okay? That's how I use these levels. Simple as that. It's all about finding acceptance, right? These are hourly bars, so right, like it's all about finding acceptance. All right. Hope everybody understands that. We're done here. Moving on. Moving on. Moving on. I'm gonna change my workspace. Give me a second here. I'm gonna change my workspace. We're gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this together. I'm gonna make this a little smaller. All right. And I'm showing you a blank screen. My apologies. Here we go. It's your marker profile, volume profile. Wonder if documents is with me. Wonder if documents is with me. Not sure. Maybe Rosita. Let's look at this here. So first thing we're gonna do. Okay. Is look at the profile. There's our beautiful balance profile. Look at that. You got excess, you got value, you got excess. Beautiful profile. Very balanced. Okay, we're in value area right now. Okay. Ultimate balance, 63 documents. 6305, let's call it. And guess what you have? An overnight balance profile. Look at that. Beautiful balance profile. Generally means the auction's complete unless you can create value in volume here. Okay? Now, we already know, right? 6270 is the bull bear line as well. Okay, so what we're going to do is mark this off with the demand zone that we tipped into. See that little tip into the demand zone? Whoop. This is going to encompass your 6270, right? Market stays above this, we most likely will go back to balance highs. Okay. Now, this is where you don't want to be really. This middle of the muck in the value area, in the middle of balance, because this is going to be a battle between sellers and buyers. Okay. Generally, the buyers should win out because you couldn't go lower, and the shorts are eventually going to have to puke, and you get like a melt up. And this will be your little wall to get over. Okay? This will be your little wall. All right? Very balanced profile here. Very balanced. This is your month-to-day anchor VWAP right here. What is that showing you? It's flat. Yeah, and that's also telling you July is balanced. Okay, a flat VWAP also means you're in a range. A flat VWAP in your daily session means you're in a range. Don't expect outsized moves with an anchored VWAP that's flat. Or I'm sorry, not an anchored VWAP. Well, this is an anchored VWAP, but like a regular VWAP for the session. Flat, guess what? You're most likely going to be in a range. Okay? Now, we also know, right, that this 63, let's call it 08, 05, whatever, this area, okay? This is ultimate balance, folks. Remember I said big moves happen from ultimate balance. And they have, okay? We ripped up, we ripped back. Remember, the most people are trading this price over the last month in the weekend yesterday. That's how many people have said that's fair price. That's what they're saying. This is the most fairest price. I'm going to sell here. I'm going to long here. This is the price that's agreed upon. Okay. Now we have our balance highs. Right. Let's supply here. Alrighty. So let's get into this. We got some single prints right there. And how are we going to deal with this? Right. Let me just look if there's any other inflection points that I could point to. Now there's probably a demand here that I'm just not seeing from the PPIs. Let's spread this out. Yeah. So there's going to be demand zone right here. That's actually yesterday's close. You got bought right off of it. Okay. Single prints. All right. So we're going to put another little level right here. Okay. So let's get into it. To your scenarios. And of course, I'm going to be bullish biased, right? Now, of course, internals can tell me something different. But really, if we can't take out these lows, right, we're probably going back up. All right, so we are at the highs, the overnight highs, right? You have supply right here. Right here. That lines up with the overnight lows from the previous day. Okay. Now, we're in value, right? So, value area lows here for this weekly profile. What I would like to see is a push up, right? There's a couple things I'd like to see. All right, so this could be one. Push up into the supply, fail, right? You got this is weak foundation here, that single print, very thin volume. We can come back, go down to the month-to-date anchored VWAP to this demand zone, lower high, then you test the monster level, the middle of balance, okay? What you want to see is a push up, find acceptance, find acceptance, find acceptance, and then go back to the balance highs. Okay? That is one. Now, don't get me wrong. You could also push up, find these single prints, connect to support. That is very bullish as well, and go up. Okay? You can get more of a bear trap where you break this, go down to that 6270, the high volume node right here, composite high volume node, right? Hold that and go up. You go below this level. Yes, can you get long down here? But that's going to mean we're probably very weak. I'd want to see a reclaim of this level. So if we did this, I'd have to see this. Otherwise, I'm gambling here. Okay, that's longs. Okay. Now there's a lot of inverse here. So for the short side, right? We're pretty thinned out here. So there's probably going to be a correction here. So boom, we come up here into supply, and let's say this is your monster level, right? Let's say we do up, can't find acceptance, come back, retest it. Well, there's your single prints. You're going to come back into here. Probably take some off, right? Come down to the 62.70. I'd probably take some off and then see if we can hit that overnight low in this demand. If I was, I'd probably be like, let me take it all off. We're at balanced lows. But if you run it to hold a runner, see if we can really cook, right? And that's if the internals support that as well. Okay. Anyway, what else would I be interested in? A quick move like that, and the market's not that strong, but it just quickly pushes. Well, lower high, you go back to balance. That's about it for the short side. Okay. Let's go to Qs. Let's go to those Qs. Okay. Very balanced profile. Let's look at it. Now, it's not perfect balance because we had that move up yesterday. There's that distribution. Then you have another distribution and another little baby distribution. Okay. Now, if you just look at the profile, there's a low volume node right here. That means little time was spent there. And if you look across, usually that's some point of flexion point. Look where it goes. Right to the overnight highs. Okay. And if you look, there's rejection here and a rejection here because it hasn't spent that much time. So that becomes a pivot point. Low volume nodes either act as support and resistance or they get blown right through. Okay. That's market profile. Now, I'm sorry, it's volume profile. So, look what we're doing here. All right. Very balanced overnight session. Very balanced. All right. So, I'm expecting if we go higher, that's even less people involved. Very thin. This is your week to date VWAP right there. Okay. So, for the week, buyers are in control, believe it or not. This is your month to date anchor VWAP. It's green. Buyers are in control of the month. Okay. Our monster level is 230 right here. That is your most traded price of the month and of the week. We're accepting price above it again. We held it. Okay. This is the close from yesterday. A lot of confluence down here. A lot of confluence. Okay. Can't lose this level. It reclaimed it. Now, what else do we have? Okay. You have what I call a confluence high. But let's call it 232222. So you have an overnight high and yesterday's highs. That's called the confluence high with supply. And in this supply zone, you will have the most traded price of yesterday. Okay. Another important supply is here. This encompasses last week's highs right here. We're almost in this area. We're almost in this area. Okay. And you got a poor high here. It says weak high, but it's pretty much, you don't have excess here. See this like a double top? That's generally mean that's going to get broken and corrected. Okay. So for me here, and you can see some single prints from yesterday's tail. Okay. So you have some pretty clear levels here in the NASDAQ. I kind of like it. It's relatively stronger. Okay. I might lean on the Qs today because it's only tech. I don't have to worry about a lot of the other sectors. I can concentrate on tech. Okay. So let's get into scenarios here. Now, what I love about that next trader prices and all this stuff is it doesn't get you caught up in price action. It gets you brought in structure. Okay, that's why I say in the beginning of the video, helps me find structure. Because price is a seductress, I like to call it sometimes. Or another guy, Peter Rezenchek, says it's an advertising mechanism. But structure is king. Okay, this price can do a bunch of stuff, right? And if I'm trading a 1 minute or I'm just scalping, it doesn't really mean anything to me. I don't scalp. But what drives price is structure. And what drives price also is institutions and the large buyers. They don't care about these little increment levels, but they are the ones who move the market. So that's what the volume profile shows me people's behavior. If the most traded price is 230, I know institutions bought or shorted here, more than likely, right? They're the ones with the large lots, right? So what do I want to see? Push up, correct that overnight, right there. Go into supply. Maybe tap last week's highs. Okay, get a little weakness. Let's just say the market is not super weak. We quickly go down and test the close and the monster 230. Now, if it's perfect, you just do this, higher low, bounce. We start to work off this liquidity, go into this supply, tap the most traded price of yesterday, and see if we can hold and break that confluence high. That's picture perfect. Okay? It's never usually like that. What also could happen is a bear trap where we quickly take out this 230, recover, hold. There's your long. It's honestly that's all that's all I'm interested in. Okay, now short side. Short side. Okay. Remember, this is balance highs. So if the market just rips up, comes right up and tags that, let's say, most trader price of yesterday. Remember, there's a lot of volume there. Notice here, that's a pretty much a distribution high volume node. That should stop some stuff here. There's a lot of trading that's happened there. If you reject that or do one of these, come under it, test it, that would be nice. Okay? Because you're going to take out a lot of this liquidity and you might get this move to 230. I probably would take off my trade. That would be a nice short. Okay? Gravy is breaking the monster level and finding acceptance. Retest that. Boom. You go down to balance lows. You go down to that 228.30. We have to see. Now, you could also, okay, that's probably my number one. Number two, I'm not in love with it, but you could come down here, really drop, retest that level, or failure to go find acceptance, come back and also go down. So remember, structurally, ES and NASDAQ are different right now. But that's it. Okay? That's what I'm seeing. Really quickly, we can look at the daily charts. Let's look at the ES daily. Oh, this is not the daily. Let's look at the daily real quick on the futures. You can just see we're in balance, right? 90 MA daily. I have an anchored VWAP from this candle. That didn't get hit yet. But you can just see we're consolidating, right? Let's see the NASDAQ. We are just consolidating, right? 90 MA daily holding it up. You got that wick from yesterday. All right, so the 90 MA daily is just holding it there. All right. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Smash that like button for me if you did. All right, market's opening in almost a half hour. All right. So much appreciated. Now, if you want to join me every day, please do subscribe, set an alert. I'll give you the market story and a bunch of technical analysis, and then I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in Nasdaq and ES futures. Okay, we have a plan. Today, I like it. Now, if the market is all strong together, is all weak together, that's what I like. All right. Now, yesterday, when the market was disconnected, I tend to, like I said a couple videos ago, I chart all the stocks. Gamma levels all there. I know, I'm very heavily involved also in the TA of the stocks. Sometimes I forget, but I'm not forgetting anymore. Whenever I don't like the way the market is, right? Because remember, 100 stocks push the Nasdaq, 500 stocks that are mixed abroad, 500 stocks in the S&P 500. Well, if I look at my stocks and go individual, they can have a different uh, plan and disconnect if they're hitting large level or it's relatively strong. I'd rather go with that. That's why I went with Meta yesterday, and I took a long right off of 715, which was a key negative gamma level, and boom, it shot up and gave me $3 from a $1 risk. And that's the one thing, okay, that everybody probably notices. All right. And I remember this one guy, Lance Bernstein. He's like a guy from SME Capital. He's on his own now. But he actually made a decent point one time. And he said, I don't understand why people trade futures, ES and NASDAQ most of the time. He's like, I really don't understand it because stocks move so much more when you have a catalyst than the indexes. And he's not joking. Okay? He is not joking. Because when I took that long on Meta and it shot up, like I can show you here. Just like I just might as well just show you. Let me just show you for a second here. What is this? I think this is the chart here. Yep. All right, so let me show you Meta. Okay. And I'll zoom in here just to show you. We could even change it to a 5-minute to show you what I looked at. Okay, and the trade I got. Classic, if you're looking at patterns, it's a classic. Okay, but just to show you how you move in Meta, right? Meta's ATR is $1.25 every 5-minute candle, right? So I looked at this and I was like, okay, came up, came down, we came right to this negative gamma level, right? If you don't have gamma levels on, okay, that's what's so key with these gamma levels, okay? So I waited for the 715 and look where we went right here. What did that then look like? A double bottom, right? And then I put a limit order right here at 715 and I got this move. Boom. So it went from 715 all the way up into the high of this candle, which was 718.67. That's $3 and almost $4. You know what the QQQ did? I think it went up like $1.50 or something. So crazy, right? And if you go to Tesla, Meta's a nice mover. Tesla has a good ATR. If you time it right, right? If you time it right, the risk to reward in stocks is better. It is. Okay, it did fall apart, but it doesn't matter. I got paid and ran. Okay, so a little long-winded. Anyway, I will be live in my Discord, Confluence Trading today. All right, please join. Please join, start the community, and let me be your indicator. If the market's mixed like that, I will look at certain stocks, and I will tell you guys, hey, I'm looking at this stock. Okay, and again, not financial advice at all. I'm not a professional. I'm not giving advice. You just follow. All right. All right. Everybody have a great day. If I don't see you in Discord, I'll see you tomorrow.